what am I talking about today? Welcome, everybody, hopping on. So, today I'm going to be talking about how to open your spiritual centers. And it's interesting fact that scientists have studied that the level of visible light that humans can see is actually less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So we actually perceive less than 1% of the reality that we're a part of, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, what else is going on that we're not able to perceive? So I'm going to be talking today about how to open up these other sense perceptions within you so that you can perceive more than less than 1% of reality, maybe more than 1%, so that you can see as much as you want to perceive in this beautiful world that we are part of. So we have our obvious physical senses, our sight, our hearing, our sense of touch, smell, all of those things that we are traditionally able to perceive reality with. But then you also have your intuitive senses or your more subtle sense perceptions that you're able to perceive the more energetic and the less tangible aspects of reality. So that feeling that gives you a gut instinct is part of that intuitive sense perception. That feeling of having a knowing, or when you can just see things in your mind's eye, when you can see something happening as far as energetically what's going on, or you can just see and perceive things on a more subtle level. Some people can see auras around people, or some people can see different energetic beings. When people work with things like plant medicine, there's something called synesthesia, where people can feel color or see music. And so it's this kind of blending of the senses where we can perceive reality in different ways than what we traditionally can. So when we work with psychedelics that help us to open up to the ability for synesthesia, that's a hard word to say, to be able to see in these different experience in these different ways, they're opening up new neural pathways in our brain, opening up a capacity that is always within us. So we always have the ability innately to be able to perceive more. It's really a matter of learning how. And it's not that some people are just simply born with these psychic gifts and some aren't. I mean, some people are very open and they have this strong abilities, but it's something that is within all of us and can be honed and learned, just as like the skill of playing the piano. Some people are innately really good at music coming into this world. Maybe they've been performers in other lifetimes developing that skill, or maybe that's part of their ancestry, or their mind is attuned to being able to learn that quickly. But this is an innate ability that everybody can learn how to play piano. We all have the capacity to play piano. So it's very much like this when it comes to opening up your spiritual centers or your intuitive senses. This is a part of your being, and we all have the ability to do that. And it's not something that I came into the world particularly being able to understand. I didn't come into the world knowing the language of energy or how to see things that were happening energetically and spiritually. I didn't come into the world being able to see that easily and understand that easily. But I did through working with plant medicines, through training in shamanic healing. I did learn how to do that, and now I'm pretty good at it. So don't feel like you're just born with it or you're not, because that's not true. We're all born with it. It's a matter of opening up to it and learning how to hone it. And I'm going to talk about a bit of high level view of how to do that today, as well as things that can get in the way of being able to naturally connect with your senses and perceive more of reality. So I think that it's something that we all, whoever wants to be able to connect with the greater part of reality and themselves, you deserve to be able to do that. And it's simply a matter of learning the tools and the language of energy and how that works, because we are multidimensional beings. We live in a multidimensional world, and a lot of people can get caught in this paradigm of materialism that prevents us from going deeper into knowing ourselves, who we are truly as an energetic being, as consciousness, as well as knowing the world that we are a part of on a deeper level. So when you learn how to connect with your intuitive senses and how to connect with energy, it opens up whole other realities that are available to you, whole other dimensions of your own being and the world that you are a part of. It's like taking the blinders off, and it's an incredibly powerful and profound thing to do. And of course, we all do it at the level that we're ready to see and experience. So if you want to take them off, I'm going to talk high level about how you can do that today. And if you guys have questions as I'm talking, or anything like feedback and things that you've tried and what your experience has been, please put it in the chat, because I love having this be kind of a two-way conversation. And I love hearing your experiences and your questions and what you want to learn about when it comes to your intuition, when it comes to working with your intuition and opening up those spiritual centers. So I'm going to dive in here in just one moment. Hey, Renee, welcome. Great to see you here. And Adrian, and Barbara, Shadow Friends DMT, beautiful. Welcome, guys. So, what is it that can block our spiritual centers? So if we all have this innate ability to perceive more than 1% of the reality that we are part of, why don't we? What is causing us to not be able to connect? So there's a combination of things, and I'm going to list a few of them now. So number one is materialist beliefs and programming. Nice to see you here too, Barbara. So yeah, materialist beliefs and programming. What do I mean by that? So in many cultures around the world outside of Western society, they believe in a spiritual world, in angels, gods, all of these other energies that are beyond the physical. And that's very much a part of most cultures. 96% of cultures, I believe, around the world, this is a part of their life and their way of engaging with the world. In the Western materialist world, there's been a lot of programming around what we can see and touch and measure is the only thing that's real. And, you know, part of that was scientific revolution, which is beautiful and has given us so much. But even within science, things like quantum physics defy the laws of what materialist science says to be real and not real. And a lot of physicists say that it's spooky because the world that we are a part of is responds to us, to our own consciousness. So the observation effect, when scientists study matter, particles and waves behave differently than if they are not observing the experiment. So they've had to not watch the experiment in order to not become a part of it. So the way energy works is dynamic and it's not linear, and it cannot be fully explained by materialism. Okay, so there's much more to this world than that level of what we can traditionally measure and weigh through physical means. So beliefs about, you know, this is real, that's not real, we often get told when we're kids growing up is, you know, don't pretend, don't make believe, you know, what is real is this, what is not real is that. And so, you know, often little children come into the world and we're open, the veil is thinner because we haven't yet been programmed with those beliefs, those materialist beliefs of what isn't real. And so we're just open to what our senses are showing us, which is a lot of different energy, a lot of different things that kids pick up on. So it's a process of kind of unlearning that paradigm of materialism, unlearning those beliefs that tell us that all that is real is what we can physically touch and see within the 3D world. Of course, that everything we can touch that is physical is ultimately made of energy. Nothing is actually solid. And so energy that we can see is less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So there's a lot more than what we can see and touch through our traditional senses. So having the openness of belief around that helps to open our mind to perceive that. It kind of starts with that openness of the mind, that willingness to be open to our experience that we're having instead of what we've maybe traditionally believed to be or imprinted with what is believed to be true. It's choosing to be with your experience instead with a sense of openness and curiosity. Other things that can get in the way of connecting with your intuition, with your intuitive senses, is fear. So, protective mechanisms, protective instincts that can shut down your ability to perceive more. And where does that come from? So, a few places. We have historically a really large collective trauma of people having been persecuted, especially women, having been persecuted for being an intuitive, for being an energy healer, or speaking with animals, or working with herbs, or working with spirit. These people were persecuted because the Catholic Church wanted to have control and to colonize these other nature-based cultures. And so a lot of these practices of how people used to connect with spirit, ancient European ones as well as indigenous ones all over the world, a lot of them, those practices became outlawed, and the penalty for being outside, doing anything outside of the church, or being accused of doing anything outside of the church, you'd be killed. And so there was a very, very real threat to that. And in some parts of the world, sadly, there still is. Sometimes women can still be accused of being a witch and killed for that. And that is, it's very sad. And my heart goes out to that happening in the world. But it's important to know that we're where we are in the developed world anyway, it is safe now to open up to that part of ourselves, to explore and speak about that part of ourselves, because it's a part of the dimension of our own being, and it's a dimension of the world in which we are a part of. So it's our birthright to be able to take the blinders off and experience more of ourselves and of life. And other more recent examples, if you were a child and you heard voices or you saw things, if you talk about that for too long, then you could be labeled as insane and heavily medicated and sent off to treatment or electric shock therapy. A lot of really scary things that could happen if you are somebody who sees and hears things that is not in our physical world as we know it. So there's a lot of fear and labeling that can happen around that. And sadly, because a lot of Western society doesn't understand what a spiritual awakening looks like, or what psychic senses are connecting with, they don't understand or see a world beyond matter as real. Those who do perceive that can be labeled as insane, and that's a really sad thing. And that fear of being labeled and what can happen as a consequence of that can cause us to shut down those centers. Like, you know what? It's not safe to hear and see this stuff. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to shut it out and shut it down. And your beautiful, brilliant mind is going to do whatever you want and try to protect you. And it's going to shut that down for you. So if that has happened, it's a process of learning that it is, again, now safe to connect with that part of you. It is now safe to experience that part of yourself and that part of life. And it's about making a choice and reconditioning your mind and your body to open that up, to release that fear from your mind, your energy, and from your nervous system. And it's really often helpful to have a guide to do that, because a lot of these things happen within the subconscious and within the body. So having someone who's highly skilled at helping you to recognize where that's happening and release that mentally, physically, spiritually, it can help you move through that much more gently and safely and quickly. Okay, other things that can cause you to not be able to tune in are not wanting to see something. So maybe you have this, everybody is able to visualize, we all have a capacity, but some people don't. And so that can be a result of not wanting to have seen something in your life, this lifetime or another. And there's this really incredible example of these women that had survived this genocide somewhere in Asia some time ago. And there was a collection of these women. I think there was like 40 of them. And they were going blind. And they had done all these tests on their eyesight and their eyes and their brain, and everything functioned properly, but they couldn't see. And their theory was that these women had seen these incredible atrocities in their lifetime of all of these things that had happened to people that they loved, things that no human should have to witness, that no being should have to witness. They saw these things, and then their mind, as a way to protect them, shut down their seeing. And they said, you know what, we don't want to see the world anymore. And so that's an extreme example of what can happen on a physical level of shutting down our ability to see. This can also happen on a spiritual level. Energetically, if there's something you didn't want to see, you know what? I don't want to have that ability anymore. I'm going to turn it off. So if that's something that you've experienced, it's a process of healing and releasing the pain that caused you to want to shut it down. And again, reminding yourself, okay, it is okay now for me to see. Am I ready and willing to open up my sense of seeing now? And that's really a matter of working with the mind, the part of you that's trying to keep you safe, that has that protective mechanism in place. It's learning how to speak to that part of you within your subconscious and within your body. And again, having a guide to do that is really powerful, because someone can guide you into learning how to have a dialogue with these parts of yourself and shifting and releasing things that are no longer serving you or preventing you from moving forward in the way that you want to. Beautiful, you guys. Okay. So we talked about some things that can block your ability to connect with your intuitive senses. Now I want to talk about some practices that will help you open them up more and will help you reconnect with them. So it starts with a willingness and with a choice to listen to this part of yourself. So we all have an intuition, and it's a choice in how much we listen to it. So a lot of us in society have been trained to listen to what's happening outside of us and to do things that will please others, instead of listening to our inner guidance and listening to our intuition. So the first thing I would suggest to do is make the decision to listen to your intuition. Something that I've been doing, practicing more lately, as waking up in the morning, asking, clearing my energy, asking my higher self, my intuition, what should I focus on next? And I've been getting lots of guidance and things that I wouldn't have naturally thought to do. So one of the first things my intuition told me is to write down my dreams, and then later analyze them, which I've been doing, and it's been really beautiful and powerful and incredible. But my conscious mind would never be like, oh, you know what the next step is? Write down my dreams. No, the intuition has a much deeper wisdom and a beautiful ability to give you very direct guidance that will get you to where you're meant to be much faster than traditional means of trying to figure it out. And the next step that you get very likely will not make any sense to you. So it's a matter of faith and trusting it. Not simply because you don't understand the next step. It just means you don't have as much of a vantage point, as much of a perspective of understanding of how this is the most direct path. So it takes faith and trust to listen to your intuition and do what it tells you to do. Ways that you can cultivate more of your ability to hear your intuition are meditation. Meditation is not always fun and easy. If the first time you sit to meditate, you will likely be flooded with racing thoughts and maybe frustration or boredom. These are all emotions that you're meant to sit with, and the thoughts that you're meant to observe, and just keep breathing, and eventually it'll quiet. So the longer you don't meditate for, the more likely you are to have these kind of racing thoughts and stuck energy in the body that are going to be uncomfortable to sit with. But as you meditate and observe these feelings and sensations in your body and these thoughts in your mind, they will eventually subside, and you will eventually get through it. It can take some time. I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation experience where I went and meditated in silence all day for 10 days. And it was a lot of hard work, and it was a lot of feeling emotions and facing my thoughts, my feelings that my mind had been compartmentalizing and avoiding. But as I got through that, I was able to really quickly drop into that centered, calm space of being able to meditate and feel sensations in my body anywhere, anytime. So you just have to be committed. Breath work is another really beautiful way to get into the meditative state very quickly and help give your mind a job, something to do, so it doesn't talk to you about how you shouldn't be doing this and go do something else instead. Breath work is a really great way to quickly get into a meditative state, and I recommend that for people who haven't meditated before or who are struggling to meditate, to incorporate a breathing exercise and let that be your meditation, because it gives your mind a job and it helps you to move energy in your body in a really healthy way. Qigong, very powerful for cleansing and healing the body, opening up your energy and opening up your energetic centers. When I did my shamanic Chinese medicine and medical Qigong training, we would do all these beautiful Qigong exercises. And afterwards, I just felt light. I felt happy. I was able to see the world in a way that looked incredibly beautiful. I was able to feel energy in my body. I was able to see and experience the energy around me and feel it around me much more easily. And that's because I simply just moved the blocked energy out of my body, and I brought in nourishment into the parts of me that needed more energy. So it's very healing and gentle. And in doing this work, it releases the blocks that kind of get in the way of you being able to see, sense, and feel more clearly. It's like the blocks are kind of like the blindfolds that can prevent you from being able to see and feel. And that could be in the form of stuck energy and emotion in the body, beliefs, and conditioning. So Qigong, yoga, that's a great way of doing this. It works with the physical body and with energy and with breath work, of course. Journaling, so beginning to write down your thoughts, especially if you have a lot of thoughts or worries, writing them down can really get them out of your head and help you release them. Time in nature, the more time you spend in nature, the better. Nature is an embodiment of just beingness. It is beyond the ego by its very existence. It is profoundly healing, just to be around it. Nature is like this extension of Mother Earth, of Gaia, of this super organism, of this divine consciousness that has given us our bodies. The more time we spend in nature, the more it's going to help to regulate us, and the more it's going to help to clear our mind and release stuck energy and just help us remember who we are and what we're a part of. Plant medicines, not for everybody. It's been a really big part of my healing journey. I've worked a lot with ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms, cannabis, all very beautiful, definitely to be done with intentionality, with respect to the power of that plant. And if you are someone who already struggles with being grounded in the physical world, or boundaries, this may not be the right option for you. I would start with the other things I mentioned. And then, of course, working with a guide is going to help you get to the other side, to where you want to be, much faster, much more safely, in a intentional way. So there's that saying that we can't expect different results by doing the same thing over and over again. So it's the same consciousness creates the same results for us. So if you have someone who has moved through all of these ways of connecting with their own being and guided others through that, there's going to be a pathway that's going to help you to get there much faster. So of course, working with a guide is going to help you to get there in a much more gentle and rapid way than trying to figure it out all by yourself from the same consciousness that you've started from. And a really great approach with all of this is curiosity. So try to move into curiosity. Moving into that is going to move you away from judgment, and curiosity is a place of openness. So it's going to open your mind to what comes up when you try to meditate or do breath work. What are the thoughts coming up that might be trying to protect you and keep you safe in the same of what you already know, instead of opening up to what you can be? So be curious about the thoughts that come up, about the feelings that come up as you move towards more and more of this work. And the more you can find a community and other people who are understanding and nurturing of this part of you, where you can speak freely about things you experience, things that you're curious about, it's going to help your mind and body, your nervous system, to feel safe in your own spirituality, to know that you belong and that you have a place where you belong, and that this part of you is welcome here. So having a community to support you is really powerful and beautiful, and makes it really fun too. So I hope that is helpful, you guys.